Oh, another week, another Friday. Hi, everybody. I'm Mr. Moohead. We are privileged to have not only Bronk in the studio,
No.
but Derek Frisbee, the man, the myth, the legend. And today, we're in this big tweener time, folks, where we will be talking about the Cavaliers a little later in the show. We talk about the Browns, but I got something that is stuck in my craw. I received notice of this. Do you know who Mike Tannenbaum is?
Isn't
Heard
he
the name.
NFL Network or something?
Yeah, well, here's his tweet. Here are 3 proposed trades as discussed on Get Up ESPN. All right, it's one of their daytime programs. 1, Justin Fields to Pittsburgh for a 2nd-round pick. 2, Brandon Cooks traded for CJ Mosley. And 3rd, Deshaun Watson and a 2nd pick for Daniel Jones. All right.
Good Lord.
Now, here was my response. Here are 3 things I'll discuss on my podcast today. 1, why attention-starved assholes all seek attention on Twitter. 2, how you know Get Up needed Viagra to achieve their name. And 3, how you know the ratings are going down the crapper on ESPN's daytime programming.
Wow.
But it brings me to a wonderful conclusion about where we're at right now. Everything is designed to irritate and aggravate people. And the sensitivity of people is getting greater and greater. The agitation is greater and greater. And if somebody wants attention with the activity of the Browns fan base, they just come out, or the Cavaliers, they just come out and say something that slights the city of Cleveland so that they get responses on Twitter, just to try to keep the ball rolling during the offseason. I watch this every year going on. But you know something? All I'm going to say is this. Be careful who you fuck with. They discovered that the shooters in the Super Bowl, celebration were juveniles. Juveniles with guns killing people in a Super Bowl celebration. I'm not going to talk about guns. Fuck no. I'm going to talk about the level of agitation in this country, and it's pathetic that it reaches into the fabric of society. And these people are going to agitate the wrong person. And they're going to end up with whatever the guy's name was, Chapman, who killed John Lennon. You know?
Wow.
I mean,
David Chapman.
Yep. You keep poking the bear, and don't be surprised when the bear goes off and rips you to shreds. Mike Tannenbaum and Get Up ESPN, because here's who he copied on the tweet. Dan Graciano, ESPN, Bart Scott, former Raven, and B. Custer TV. Here's the deal. When you are laying on the ground with 22 stabs in you, you brought it on. There's going to be one unstable person out there, just like these kids who show up to a goddamn Super Bowl celebration with guns that they found at home and went out and killed people. This is not what social media is supposed to be about. If you have a point, make a point. But there's no point in saying, a guy who signed to a lifetime contract with the Browns, and we're going to give up him and a 2nd pick for Daniel Jones. I mean, you're just looking for trouble, and you're going to get it.
Wow.
And when I wake up one day and I find that Mike Tannenbaum has had his head split open, or that the people at Get Up ESPN have been accosted outside the studios, I won't be surprised, because you can't do that. We don't need rabble rousers. What we need are people to have intelligent conversation. And that's what we try to do in a civil way by bringing fans of other teams on this program so that we remember it's just a fucking game. It's not a big deal. There's always next year. All the things that are, the things you're not supposed to say as sports fans. So that's how my show begins today. And I watched the Cavaliers win their last game before the All-Star break. And they were behind by 17 points and getting clocked by a team who shouldn't have been clocking them. And that team was shooting the hell out of the ball. The Chicago Bulls are not a great basketball team. They were playing damn fine ball in most of the first half of the game. And it was push and pull for the entire 4 quarters, third and fourth quarters. And, I was watching it. And, I was watching the Bally's feed. And because I wanted the local commentators, who was also being broadcast nationally on ESPN. The following day, I said, I'd kind of like to maybe see if I can dig up a replay on that. And I start an ESPN stream of a rebroadcast of the game.
Okay.
And they start out the whole game by saying, and the Cleveland Cavaliers have something, they got to prove themselves. Right off the bat, to a team that's under 500, the Cavaliers who have won 18 of 20 games. The immediate thing is Cleveland losers. They're not for real. They may have won 18 of 20, but they haven't proven themselves at all. Meanwhile, the New York Knicks have lost 4 games in a row, and oh my God, we got to suck their dick all the way down. Down the shaft we go.
Wow.
That is the kind of shit that poisons people. And that's, the whole thing. The whole thing is you got to get people excited. You got to become a rabble rouser. You got to do something that's going to irritate people. And it doesn't have to be that way at all. It's like I say when you're driving down here in Florida. You got some old people who are on meds. You got some angry people. And man, they're quick on the horn. And, there used to be in the old days, you flip them a bird. But now they got a gun in the car with them. And you don't know who it is you're flipping off. You don't know if it's a crazy motherfucker who just lost his job and is mad at the world. You don't know. You just got to ignore it, folks. Don't take the bait. And I say to the people who are doing this on Twitter, I know that Elon Musk has set this thing up in a way that all of this has become way more toxic since he took over, way more toxic. And he's bipolar, so he likes the action. But I don't care about his bipolarism because he's not treating it. And second of all, it's not safe. And all we need, and it isn't a matter of whether people should be allowed to carry guns. The bottom line is, if you fuck with the wrong person at the wrong moment, if you're standing in the wrong place at the wrong moment and you are there for a drive-by shooting, you could be a victim. But God forbid you take the bait and start yelling back at people. You flip somebody off when they're in a car next to you. It may be the last thing you do.
And it's so culturally accepted. So culturally accepted now. Like you said, I mean, I can give you 18 examples just within the Browns on Twitter of my friends getting threatened and all that over nothing. Yeah. It's like, dude, it's like you can say all these things, but like you said, I mean, all it takes is you say something to the wrong person, and it's like, hey, you never know, because you'd be surprised. I mean, we're all Browns fans, and if you want to argue about that and say something crazy, odds are the guy you're talking to ain't that far away from you. So
that's right. I mean, and everybody knows, really, if they really want to research it, who the hell you are. I've made no secret as to who I am because it's pointless. People want to find out, they find out. Look at Amsterdam. Amsterdam researched me, and I know he did. He won't admit it, but I know he did. And if he can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Topaz could do it. Sorry, Amsterdam, but
No.
it is true. You know, he used to notice things in the background of my house. I mean, you got to look out, man. I mean, I was using a green screen for a while, and I said, "Oh, fuck this shit," you know? Fuck this shit.
Yeah, you used to do have trophies in the background from your tennis days.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, hey, remodeling. What can I say?
Yeah.
But again, it's just not a safe environment that we live in. And there are other signs in sports that this shit's going on. So they play the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
You know what the next day, what happened basically, or the following, well, a couple days later? The commissioner of the NBA, Mr. Silver, said, you know, we're all up for a franchise in Las Vegas.
Did he really? I didn't.
Yes.
I didn't see that.
I said, Viva! Oh wait, Viva Las Vegas. I'm dead. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You have to put the echo on. Yeah.
Yeah. But
although he may not be dead because he keeps getting seen.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that earlier, Bronk. That's hilarious. I love Elvis, but like, dude, the people who are so obsessed with these dead celebrities that they will go through every nook and cranny to say they're alive. It's insane.
Look, there are people who are so. I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of people lined up at the side of a road waiting for RFK Jr. to get out of a car, and he's been dead for years. Yeah. I mean, the world is full of conspiracies that aren't even true. People have gone way off the emotional track. It's goofy.
Well, but it's a lot of alienation going on.
Now the NBA wants, you know, a franchise in in Las Vegas. And now we have this. The LA Clippers were playing the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
And losing.
Yeah.
Losing by 11 points in the fourth quarter of the game, down by 9 when former Cavaliers coach Ty Lue had enough of it, got himself teed up. One of his players got teed up. They got, the Warriors got 2 more free throws. So they were down by 9, and they came back, and the Clippers came back and won the game. And after the game, you know how they show the players coming back? They had a mic on. Really? And Ty Lue is pumped up, getting his players pumped up after the game that they just came back and won this game, and basically said, well, where are the refs at now? And this is not a guess at what he said. This is what he said. Where are the refs now? Cheating. That's where. Nobody uses the C word.
That is grim.
Cheating. Wow. Now, why would Ty Lue, who I think is a respectable fellow?
Yeah, he's stand-up guy. Let's use that old phrase.
And he was fined $35,000. And that was after he was shown on video claiming the officials were cheating. It's not like he did this at a presser. I'm amazed that they're going to have to suspend him too, because
they'll probably take him out back and beat him up or something.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Was this in the locker room, or was this like leaving
on
the
floor?
Or
this was on the floor as they were coming off the floor.
Wow.
All right. So they were headed towards the tunnel, and he said this. Okay.
The NBA said he was fined for public criticism of the officiating and for questioning the integrity of game officials. Well, let me say this. They're cheaters. They lie and they cheat for the teams that the NBA wants to win. Okay?
Fair enough.
I mean, you know, what the hell? You put a franchise in Hades if you could get a higher percentage of the devil's gambling money. There is nothing on the up and up. The information that we get from shows like Get Up ESPN, and this is the tie-in, is that they're conditioning you to feel a certain way. if the Browns were to be in the Super Bowl, they don't deserve it. If Myles Garrett wins the Defensive Player of the Year, he doesn't deserve it. If Donovan Mitchell is not on the first string of the All-Star team for the East, he didn't deserve it. If only one Cavalier makes the All-Star, the entire All-Star roster, when they're the number 2 team in the East, they didn't deserve it. Wow. Do you think that these same people, honestly, do you think that these same people are going to allow a fair officiating in a game when the Cavaliers get there? Give me a fucking break.
And Moot, not to, I don't know the name of the guy. I can't give you the exact situation, but I do remember vividly a little while back, there was a, I want to say a documentary on cheating within the NBA with the officials. I can't remember who or what team, but yeah, for those of you who will say, no, it's just everybody's saying it's rigged and there's cheating and there's not. No, it's been proven. It's been a proven fact. It does happen.
Yeah, there's so much money. I mean, look at what's happening to college athletics in front of our eyes. Look at what's happening.
It should be disbanded. It's so corrupt.
Now, I'm gonna tell you something, and every so often I will say something that is not public knowledge, but I'll say this because it doesn't harm anybody. It's an illustration. All right. Everyone thinks portal, college, NCAA football. But basketball's affected too. If you've been following the story of Bronny James after his cardiac arrest, yes, he is playing at USC. Yes, people are wondering why he chose USC, except maybe because it was close to home. The team is terrible. The coach is on the verge of being fired. And Bronny James is shooting 35% from the field and 26 from 3.
Good Lord.
He's not contributing in any meaningful way. And the press hyped up all this time that he was a one-and-done player. Well, he may be one and done with basketball if that's the case, because either that or one and done in China. I don't know. But here's what I can tell you. He's going to get out of USC. He has to, because there's no saving. That recruiting class that was supposed to be a great recruiting class, the coach can't handle it, and they're just not getting it done. They're terrible. But here's the thing, and it's the scariest part. NIL money, Bronny James has already earned $6 million.
Wow, for being a mediocre college player.
Because of who he is, who his name is, and you know, any organization, and when I say organization, I'm talking about colleges, but they're not colleges anymore. They are for students who go there, but they're organizations, because they're profiteering from all of this.
Yeah.
If they have that kind of money to give Bronny James, for Christ's sake, can you imagine how much money is flying around? You know, they got a cut of the gambling action. God only knows what's going on. I can't tell you. And to tell you the truth, I don't really want to know. But the bottom line is, go ahead.
You know, it's a telltale sign also, and I at least here, you know, I can give you examples being where I'm at. You look at the price tags that they're paying on coaches now, and then you look at a guy, you know, like the kid we just got in here at Ohio State, Caleb Downs. He's a 18-year-old kid making $2 million just to sign his name to start.
That's right.
So if you're paying 18-year-olds $2 million and you're paying coaches X amount of $1 million that just keeps going up and up and up, I mean, what do you think it is? It's not. It's a business. It's not a school. It's not a student-ran thing anymore. It is 1,000, and it has been for a while. They're just open with it now. Yeah, that's the crazy part.
Well, and here's the thing, and you know, if you've listened to the program in the past, that I am all in favor of paying college athletes because you can see now how, now it's clear how much money was in programs like Ohio State University, Alabama, and Clemson, and Georgia, and all that. Now you get a real good understanding of it. And now you're seeing goofy things like a guy giving up a $6.5 million annual job at UCLA to flee the head coaching position to become an offensive coordinator at Ohio State. Now you're seeing that kind of crazy shit. Now, I'm going to say something, and I don't want to start an argument, but just making a statement. If Bronny James can be worth $6 million and somebody's willing to pay him $6 million, they must be making a whole hell of a lot of money. And I don't want to hear about Deshaun Watson's guaranteed contract, because you could only imagine how much money Jimmy Haslam's making if he can do something like that. I mean, if you know a guy who's got 8 houses and 12 cars, he ain't doing it on credit, folks. It's way over the top nuts now. If you feel comfortable enough doing what Jimmy Haslam did, I'm not going to say it was right or it was wrong. It's just a fact. The guaranteed money that Deshaun Watson is making is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket compared to what Jimmy Haslam is making. And you don't know all the sources from which it's coming. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to throw in real fast. You could also say the same thing with multiple NFL quarterbacks since we made that deal. I mean, the deal that gets brought up consistently as far as a negative is Daniel Jones. But, I mean, you look at what the Giants gave a guy like Daniel Jones. And I'm saying his name because you brought him up earlier with this get up stuff. Daniel Jones is average at best as a quarterback in the NFL. He's probably a backup, career backup, journeyman starter at best. And he got, I believe, $45 million per year. I could be wrong on that. But, like, I don't want to hear about Watson when you got mid guys getting paid crazy numbers. Like, who cares? If you have the money to do it, do it. Doesn't make it right, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah. It's
getting back to Bronny James, I really don't know much about him. What does he play? Is he like
he's a guard?
He's a guard. And how tall is he?
He's about 6 foot. Well, and in reality, 6'3", 6. Maybe
so he's listed.
Maybe they stretch him as. Maybe they list him at 6'4", but he's about 6'3".
Okay.
And
yes, I've not seen him play.
Look, I can tell you some things. I've watched tennis players who were ranked 200 in the world, and they're magnificent. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to demean Bronny James. He was a 4-star, not a 5-star recruit in his high school career. At no time was he a 5-star guy. But what came with him was LeBron's power in the media by saying, I want to play with my son. All right.
Yeah.
And when that happened, it was like, okay, we're off and running talking about Bronny James. And I think it's unfortunate it puts him under a microscope because, first of all, nobody compares to LeBron James. Nobody who's ever touched a basketball even compares to him in my opinion. His longevity, his results.
Well, just looking at father sons throughout history, the only son that ever outshone his father that I can remember in sports is Ken Griffey Jr. versus Ken Griffey. There's not a lot of successful sons out there that are better than, the father or the grandfather. I mean, there's some that are pretty damn good, but Ken Griffey Jr. is the one that immediately comes to mind, but nobody else does.
But, I watched him play in high school, and look, he's had the best instruction. He has athletic ability.
Had every opportunity that God could create for the young man.
Right.
But he's got to work at it.
Good player. And if you looked at him like I looked at the number 200 player in the world, it's like, oh my God, this guy is just incredible. And that's what the average person would say if they saw Bronny playing. But if you put Bronny on the floor with a bunch of NBA guys, it
He'll
becomes
get killed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it becomes way, it would be like putting Serena Williams on the court with a top 50 male player.
Yeah, male player would
And
rip her ass.
The funny thing is, Bryce James is significantly better than Bronny, but yet Bryce does not get the attention, which is kind of
Bryce
crazy.
is only 15, 16 years old. But the problem with Bryce, he's a better shooter than Bronny, they say, but he doesn't have the speed and the athleticism. Look, I mean, whatever it took to create LeBron James from it's the Secretariat effect. Everybody wanted Secretariat
to be the stud.
That's right. Because, they were going to get the next Secretariat, and it never happened.
Oh, it never did happen.
Because it comes out of the blue. Nature works its own magnificence in its own way. And LeBron James is a freak of nature. And every great player who played the game can't be replicated by cloning or by mating or whatever you want to do. It just can't be recreated. So these guys have an impossible hill to climb before they even start climbing.
Yeah.
They have a really hard job. So,
okay, yeah, I'll agree with Amsterdam. Steph Curry is better than Del Curry.
Yes, obviously. But and again, to compare people is kind of an unfortunate thing. And the young man
do. That's what the world's like, man. If you're comparable to somebody, you're going to get compared. But
don't cry for me, Argentina. He's worth $6 million right now.
Yeah. Archie Manning, Peyton Manning.
And anybody in the chat room want to raise their hand and say they're worth more than $6 million?
No, I'm not.
No. So there you have it. That's what sports has become. And if you believe it's on the up and up, when all that money's there, I'll tell you the same thing about Big Pharma. I'll tell you the same thing about the ability to control prices without getting the medication out to people who needs it. When there's that much money out there,
there is an industry that's got money that isn't corrupt, and sports is just one industry. It's sad, but it's going to be that way.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Monway. $6. You can't even buy Big Mac, dude. And that's the other thing, who knows by the time Bronny James is 60, whether that $6 million is going to last. I mean, everything is just happening way, way, way too fast. And there's way, way too much potential corruption all along the way. You can't tell me that the officials aren't tainted. You can't tell me that. I see with my eyes what they're doing. And when it really gets to playoff time, one team will be able to play the hard body checking defense and the other team won't. And then at the end, they'll say, they didn't earn it. Cleveland. And that's the way it works. And you know who knows that better than anybody? Myles Garrett knows that. They can hold him on every fucking play and they won't call it.
Correct. They do hold him on every fucking play.
So,
yeah.
Cleveland. If he were playing for the Steelers, oh, man.
Oh. Can you now let's do the time machine, the hot tub time machine, and imagine Myles Garrett playing for the Steelers. Do you think he would have been trained to injure people if he'd been playing for the Steelers all along, if he'd been drafted by them?
I think the reason he wouldn't be drafted by them is because he couldn't be brainwashed into doing things like crippling people intentionally. I think that I think part of the interview is, would you cripple a man for life?
Must be.
In order to win, and because they end up with all these players, the Ravens and the Steelers end up with all of these players. It ain't no coincidence.
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm trying to get at.
And it's Nick Bosa. That's true. He was held, but 17 games, 18 games. No, Myles Garrett was held and still ended up with 14, 15 sacks. Still.
Yeah,
God only knows.
Fired every now and then.
And how many third and longs would that have forced people into? Wow. And how many more turnovers would the Browns defense have gotten The fact of the matter is, if you want to go analytics that way, the officials in the league does that too. And it's like, they're playing the Browns. Don't let Myles Garrett get in and allow people to hold him, because just turn your head the other way, look the other way, because some of it was just absolutely bizarre. I mean, they'd have him in a fucking headlock. I mean, it was bizarre.
Yeah, it looked like Johnny Powers on Channel 43 wrestling half the time.
Yeah, did you see where the Guardians are going to be on WUAB 43 for 5 games?
The Cavaliers, I thought were going to be on.
Oh no, it is the Cavaliers.
It's the Cavaliers, isn't it? I thought.
Yeah.
I made some comment about that. I forget what I said, but it was like, the big gong of truth. That it's the Cavaliers.
I love you. I'm coming back. WUAB. That's the Sports Center, the Sports Pulse of Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can thank our friends at Diamond Bally's.
You'll know the answer to this, but let's see if anybody in the chat knows. What does UAB stand for?
University of Alabama, Birmingham.
Yeah. You know the answer, don't you? United Artists Broadcasting. That's what it originally stands for.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what it stands for now, but it'll be interesting to see the broadcast of those games. I mean, of course, we already have the broadcast crew. It's like, but it's funny that it would come to that.
Wow.
It seems to me that the Cavaliers, all the way back when, it all started out that way when we had Luke Whitty.
Luke Whitty, yeah.
Don't kick me in the balls, please.
Talk about somebody who probably has CTE from that evening in Minnesota. Jesus Christ, he got danced on its head.
Now, I'm going to say something else, and I don't want this taken wrong. So I'm going to preface
We're going to take it wrong then.
No, I want to preface this.
Okay, all right.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame is a cherished thing, okay?
It's an institution.
It is. And to be put into the Hall of Fame is it's got to be the ultimate, the pinnacle. Super Bowl is one thing, but for your career to be honored by being in the Hall of Fame, that's forever, okay?
Yeah.
And, we have Steve McMichael for the Bears, who is this, who may not live to see the day where he's actually put in.
Okay.
He's back in the hospital after finding out that he made it. If you see videos of him, it's one of the saddest things. He suffers from Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS.
Wow.
But here's the thing that's really will tell you about the savagery that goes on in professional football. This guy was diagnosed with ALS in 2021. It is only 3 years later, and he's gone. Believe me when I say he's gone. And there are some versions of ALS that are faster moving than others. Some people live longer with ALS. Some people end up getting the short route to 6 feet under. And it's great that Steve McMichael, who's a deserving player, gets into the Hall of Fame. But I don't like the league parading this situation like it was a thing of mercy. The man played his heart out, for Christ's sake. He played his brain out. He played his body out. Gary Fensick, who played on the team with him, is the same fucking age, 66 years of age, 67, the same age I am.
Yeah.
He's perfectly fine, Gary Fensick, and poor Steve McMichael is totally paralyzed, can't talk, can only move his eyes. It's horrible. And now he's back in the hospital with some kind of an infection issue, and he's been in and out of the hospital constantly. And I hope that he lives long enough, and I hope that that's what he's fighting for at this point of his life, that he can witness that at least he won something from playing this fuck of a game.
Wow.
And this, what bothers me is, let's talk about what he did as opposed to how he looks right now.
So is the league marketing his illness? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, in the interest of getting a warm, fuzzy story, the NFL knows no boundaries. And there's nothing warm and fuzzy about
shameful.
ALS. It's like, you see, it all ended up great for him. He ended up in the Hall of Fame. Fuck you.
Wow.
That isn't more important than life. The man gave his life. He's 66, for God's sakes. And he, you know, he played from 1980 to 1994, 13 seasons with the Bears. He was one of those marathon men, 207 consecutive games from 81 to 94. 2 first-team All-Pros, 2 Pro Bowl selections throughout his career. Super Bowl winner. 92.5 career sacks, second in the history of the Bears, only behind Dent.
Was he a linebacker, defensive end, or what was he classified as?
McMichael was, I think he was a defensive end.
Defensive end, yeah.
And third in tackles with 814 behind Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs.
Wow.
He'll be inducted, whether he's dead or alive, August the 3rd in my hometown of Canton, Ohio. And I want people to know that the same people, not his teammates, but the people who run the league know the truth, what they're doing to people. The money's so good that the players will take the chance. And this guy never knew. He didn't know CTE from a hole in the ground. He had no idea of the dangers of playing football leading toward ALS. And Steve Gleason, the guy from the Saints, went the same way. The incidence of this kind of brain damage is just prolific in football players. Remember him for what he did. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But don't forget how he died and why he died. And who's trying to continue to make money off of his death. I think it's pathetic. I don't need that kind of a fucking story. The latest Tristan Thompson story is Jimmy Garoppolo suspended 2 games for violating performance-enhancing substance policy. It's said to be related to... Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, have you heard the rumors going around what it is? Because people are having a heyday with that.
Using a prescribed medication without having a valid therapeutic use exemption from the league, but they're not naming it. No.
So there are 2. I don't know if you've heard it, but there's a lot of people talking about it. There's 2 rumors. There's one that it is a hair growth thing that he's taken. That's one rumor. And the other rumor, given his dating history, is that he's taking dick pills. And that's what he got popped for. So I don't know what it is, but...
Well, but you see, anyone can write anything on social media and lie.
Yeah,
who knows what the truth is?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anything that stirs the pot, you know? And one thing I learned from my late father was the thing about shit is the more you stir it, the worse it stinks.
Yep.
And that's what social media is. It's shit being stirred up. And I don't know what the reason is, but the fact is, to get caught doing performance enhancing substances, you're not going to be the smartest guy in the world, because most of these athletes know when they're going to get tested. And if you still get caught, that means you're not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Well, and he's going to get cut too. So he's going to be looking for a new team, and starting a new team with a 2-game suspension. It's going to be a
well, he can't stay
It's gonna be a
healthy, and
red
that's
flag.
probably the real reason why he's taking these substances, is to try to protect himself against injury, but there is no protection. Once your body starts to break down, Garoppolo has missed time virtually every season he plays. Now, it's interesting. I said something earlier about Serena Williams not being able to put a dent into any of the top 200 women or men.
50 men, you meant.
50, but the fact is,
50.
John
Oh,
McEnroe
200.
said the top 175, and I agree with him on that too.
No.
Because any one of the top 175 in a given tournament in a given day could beat a top 10 player.
Correct.
It can be done because there's a lot. I mean, it's not a lot when it comes to 175 people. Of all the people who try to become professional tennis players, 175 is not that big a number.
Yeah, 0.001%. I get that. Yeah.
It's a Bronny James number.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be great in high school. It's the next thing to be great in college, and then it's an altogether different thing to be great in the pros.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game. So he said 175. I said 50. What difference does it make? It wouldn't be competitive. Caitlin Clark,
Yeah.
basketball player from Iowa who just broke the record. She also set a single game scoring record. It really pleases me because women's basketball, it's been a long time coming. It's when you see the men's game and how fast and athletic it's become, and then you try to watch WNBA, and it's gotten a lot better and faster than it was, but it's still the gap is just so great. But there's one thing that is absolutely without question. Caitlin Clark can shoot lights out.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the shots she made to break the record and other shots that she's made throughout the season. These are 35-foot shots. No lie Molokai. This is what men would call unlimited range. And a talented, solid player, and who knows what the future holds. 3,569 career points. And this is the kind of publicity that is truly worth publicity. I remember the last time when, they helped a woman on the court who was injured to lay the ball up at the beginning of a game. This was years ago in college basketball. And so that she would have a record, a league record or whatever. And they cheated for her because she was injured and couldn't play. So they let her suit up for one game and they walked her down the court and let her shoot a layup. And I wanted to throw up. Greatness is earned, and very few of us will ever know what it feels like. But she is a pioneer. She'll be one who will be remembered for a long, long time because she has a quick release. She brings the ball over the midcourt line and just literally just seemingly 15 feet over the midcourt line, she lets it fly. She's shooting 40% from 3-point range, but these are not like the 19-9 college or whatever the hell it is, 3-point shot. She's shooting long distance NBA threes.
Mm-hmm.
She averages taking 22 shots a game, averages 33 points a game, and 14 of the 22 are 3-point shots.
Wow.
And she makes 40% of them. Any way you look at it, you can say, well, she's only playing against women. Well, yeah. We have to judge on some level. And Serena Williams is the greatest women's player who ever played. Serena Williams is remarkable. This was a remarkable tennis player. You have no idea how hard she hit the tennis ball. But I watched her and her sister playing when they were in their primes, and oh my God. And the thing that's amazing is if you watch the men's game, you understand why they wouldn't have a chance. When I would play tennis against the best players that I ever played against, the serve would come at me at 105 to 110 miles an hour. All right.
Yeah.
That's how fast a serve that I face. I served an 105 mile an hour serve in my prime. That was the fastest serve, and I was clocked on radar, gunned, and that was the number that came up. I played somebody who could hit at 115 mile an hour serve. All right.
Wow.
So, I mean, imagine, if you will, if you were just rallying from the baseline and the ball was going back and forth in the rallies as fast as the majority of serves that I saw coming at me playing tennis. It's so fast, you can't believe it. That's why men would always beat women right now, because they wouldn't have the speed, the strength to be able to get across the court and catch up with the sheer pace of the ball. But Serena Williams took her game and women's tennis to the next level, as Martina Navratilova did in her time. You take it to the next level, as Chrissy Everett did after Billie Jean King. That's the way the sport progresses. And I was thrilled to watch this. I think that it's great for women's athletics. And I've been a critic of women's basketball, but it's that was something to watch. And I didn't want to let a show go by without saying that. And before I turn over the final part of the program to whoever wants to say whatever they want to say, the Seahawks, this will tell you how much money is in sports. They are going to give Geno Smith the remaining $12.7 million base salary for next season, even though there's no way in God's creation that Geno Smith's going to play in Seattle next year. You say, they're great guys. It's like, no. Stop and think for a minute. That money was guaranteed for injury only at the time Smith signed his 3-year, $75 million deal last March. But he's now assured of collecting that $12.7 million, but he isn't assured of remaining with Seattle next year. You see, Smith also has a $9.6 million roster bonus due on March 18th, as well as a $200,000 workout bonus. The $22.5 million he's set to make in 2024 ranks 18th among all quarterbacks. His $31.2 million cap charge for next season ranks 12th. The logic was not, we're going to be great guys because what Geno did for the organization. No, there's nothing kind-hearted about this. They believe, the Seahawks, that with salaries soaring for starting quarterbacks in today's market as it is, it was the right financial decision to guarantee Smith's $12.7 million. Because now Smith will represent a value for the Seahawks or any other team that decides to reach out if it can acquire Smith via trade. In other words, they're going to make it easier for them to trade so they can get something in exchange for him.
They put a price tag on him that's
cheaper to keeper, right?
Yeah.
That's what you got here. It is an accountancy decision.
Yep. They basically put him on eBay with a buy now price.
Yeah. Amazing. Millions and millions of dollars. And it's like, we can just go ahead and piss away $12.7 million just like that. That's twice of what Bronny James is worth. It's all adrift, floating and filled with money. And,
I'll tell you what, off topic real fast.
Yes.
The Seahawks is a team that I really, really hope drafts a quarterback this year. Particularly, I hope they get Penix because, man, that team is good. That team is really good. And if they can get a quarterback who's younger, obviously, than Geno, but who has an arm where they can just throw it all over the field with Kenneth Walker, Dude, the Seahawks, I'm telling you, the Seahawks can be really good. They fixed their offensive line. They got the weapons. I like this new coach, the defensive coordinator from Baltimore. I think, you just let the offensive coordinator handle it. And that team can be special. That team can be really special. But that's just my opinion. It's a wait and see thing.
You got to make the right
but
decisions. A lot of teams have been in a position where they could be great and they made some bad decisions and talked themselves right out of it. I mean, there is luck involved. What I'm really curious about, and it's the thing, all the hype that you see. I mean, I got Houston Texans fans all over my timeline because, I had a fan here on the program, and people now follow what I'm saying about
Good
the Texans.
show that was.
Yeah. And again, they outplayed the Browns and they deserve to win. But now I'm reading all of this stuff from Texans fans. I mean, you'd think that they were one step away from the Super Bowl, that they're sure that they're going to make such a quantum leap next year.
Wow.
And I'm telling the guy who I had on the program here, saying, go easy, man.
Yeah.
Because you can wish things into the opposite direction with high expectations. I think CJ Stroud is a wonderful quarterback, but I do not have proof that he is the next Tom Brady. You start bandying words like that around, you're asking for trouble.
Well, I mean, we had that giddy feeling in Cleveland when, Baker had that good year, and we ended up getting Odell Beckham Jr., and everybody was going, "Oh, it's a Super Bowl! It's a Super Bowl!" It didn't happen.
And and they're doing the same thing with Baker in Tampa Bay, and they're many are called, fewer chosen, and it all presumes that CJ Stroud remains healthy, his receivers remain healthy,
figured out too. That the rest of the league doesn't catch up to him.
That he gets protection, that his offensive line doesn't fall apart. There's a whole bunch of things. And Double P brings up a good point. They have I mean, the better you do, the tougher your schedule is going to get. Lots of things can change in a heartbeat. And, what I'm really interested in is the Buccaneers, the Texans. What are they going to do? What is the league going to do if those two teams just remain sub 500 or 500 teams and they don't make the crucial picks in the draft that they need to, that they end up blowing a few picks that totally slows down their progress to the degree that CJ Stroud will say, I got to get out of here like Deshaun Watson did. People don't want to talk about Deshaun Watson in Houston, but the bottom line is he wanted the hell out of there because they were terrible. And you have one nice season, and that's what it was. It was a nice season. And you played one hell of a playoff game in your home building with a barely over 500 record that you were gifted by the league's rules, and you should have been playing on the road. Be that as it may, rules is rules, and you took advantage of that home field advantage. You played a great game. It does not a great next season make. Take my word for it. You're always on the cusp. Cavaliers are on the cusp. Yeah, when Donovan Mitchell decides to leave, you're not on the cusp anymore. If you don't keep him, all this other stuff was for nothing. When LeBron left, it was gone overnight.
Oh, it was a black hole. We ended up being the worst team in the league.
When he came back, championship. But it's never guaranteed. At any rate, that's what I have to say today.
No.
All right. So I hope everybody has a good weekend. I know that I'm going to go out and have my dinner with Rocks, and we're going to have a nice time this weekend. And I hope you do too. And I hope the weather, wherever you are, is holding up. Hope you survived the Northeast snowstorm, if that's what hit you.
Wow.
And I want to thank Bronk and Derek for joining. Thank you so much. And I'm going to look at the information you sent me, Derek, and I'm going to do some studying. Okay.
Wow.
Oh,
yes. Is he still there?
He's working. He's working.
He's working.
He's a working man. All right. So everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll be back again come Monday. Until then, hasta la vista, faster heads. Good night.
Bye.